The wheel broke just as the sun reached its highest point in the Nevada sky, and Zara Henderson knew she was in serious trouble before the wagon even came to a complete stop. She climbed down carefully, one hand pressed against her swollen belly, 6 months along now and showing through the simple calico dress she wore. The wheel had split clean through, wood splintered beyond any repair she could manage herself. She stood there on the dusty trail, looking at the broken wheel and then at the endless expanse of sagebrush stretching in every direction. She had left Sacramento 3 weeks ago, heading east toward Reno with nothing but determination and the small amount of money sewn into the lining of her traveling bag. The baby kicked, and she placed both hands on her stomach, feeling tears prick at her eyes. She would not cry. She had done enough crying when Thomas had been killed in that saloon fight back in Sacramento, leaving her alone and pregnant with his child. She had cried when his family had turned their backs on her, calling her a liar when she said they had been married by a traveling preacher. She had cried when she realized she had nowhere to go and no one to help her, but she was done crying now. She was stronger than that. She had to be. The sound of hoofbeats made her turn, shading her eyes against the bright afternoon sun. A rider was approaching from the east, moving at an easy pace. As he got closer, she could make out more details. He sat tall in the saddle, wearing a worn leather vest over a blue work shirt, dark pants and boots that had seen better days. A hat shaded his face, but she could see he had dark hair that curled slightly at his collar. He slowed his horse as he approached, and she instinctively took a step back toward her wagon. A woman alone on the trail had to be careful, especially in her condition. The man stopped his horse several feet away and tipped his hat back, revealing a face that looked to be in his mid-20s. He had strong features, sun-darkened skin, and eyes that were a startling shade of blue-green. There was kindness in those eyes, she noted with some relief, not the predatory look she had feared. "Looks like you have got some trouble there, madam," he said, his voice deep and respectful. He made no move to dismount, clearly trying not to frighten her. "The wheel broke," Zara said, keeping her voice steady. "I was trying to make it to Reno before nightfall." The man looked at the wheel, then at her, his gaze taking in her condition without any judgment she could detect. "That wheel is not going to make it anywhere, I am afraid." "Where are you coming from?" "Sacramento. I have been on the road for 3 weeks." His eyebrows rose slightly. "That is a long journey to make alone, especially." He trailed off, clearly not wanting to be indelicate, especially pregnant, Zara finished for him. "I am aware of that. But I had no choice." The man was quiet for a moment, then slowly dismounted. Zara tensed, but he held up his hands in a placating gesture. "I mean you no harm, madam. My name is Landon Driscoll. I have a ranch about 5 miles east of here. I was heading back from Reno with supplies when I saw your wagon." "Zara Henderson," she replied cautiously, "and I appreciate your concern, but I can manage." Landon looked at the broken wheel again, then at the sun beginning its descent toward the western horizon. "Madam, with all due respect, you cannot manage. That wheel needs to be completely replaced, and even if you had the tools and materials, which I am guessing you do not, it would take most of a day to fix properly. It will be dark in a few hours, and these trails are not safe at night." Zara felt her composure cracking. She knew he was right, but admitting she needed help went against every defensive instinct she had developed over the past months. "What do you suggest, then? Let me take you to my ranch. You can stay there tonight, and tomorrow I will come back with proper equipment to fix your wagon. Once it is repaired, I will help you get to wherever you are going in Reno." "I do not have money to pay you," Zara said quietly, hating how vulnerable the admission made her feel. "I did not ask for payment," Landon said simply. but I cannot in good conscience leave a woman alone out here, especially not." He gestured vaguely at her condition again. Zara studied him carefully. Everything about him seemed genuine, from his open expression to his respectful distance. She had learned to read people during her difficult months in Sacramento, and her instincts told her this man meant what he said. "I would be grateful for your help, Mr. Driscoll," she finally said. "Landon, please," he replied with a small smile. "Let me help you gather what you will need for the night." He moved to the back of her wagon and began pulling out her traveling bag, moving with an efficiency that suggested he was used to hard work. Zara noticed the strength in his arms, the capable way he handled her belongings with care. "Is there anything else you need?" he asked. "There is a small wooden box under the seat. It has my mother's Bible and some letters." Landon retrieved the box and handed it to her. Their fingers brushed briefly, and Zara felt an unexpected warmth at the contact. She quickly pulled her hand back, clutching the box to her chest. "Can you ride?" Landon asked, looking at her belly with concern. "I can manage," Zara said, though in truth she was not entirely certain. It had been months since she had been on a horse. Landon seemed to read her hesitation. "I will ride behind you, keep you steady. We will take it slow." He helped her up onto his horse, his hands on her waist, firm but respectful. Then he swung up behind her, his arms coming around to hold the reins. Zara found herself pressed back against his chest, and she could feel the steady beat of his heart through his shirt. "Comfortable?" he asked, his breath warm near her ear. "Yes," she managed, though comfortable was not quite the word she would have chosen. She was acutely aware of him, of his solid presence behind her, of the safety she felt in his arms despite having just met him. They rode slowly toward the east, the horse moving at an easy pace. Landon kept one arm loosely around her waist, steadying her against the motion. The baby kicked again, and she felt Landon shift behind her. "Is everything all right?" he asked with concern. "The baby is just active today," Zara said. "It happens more when I am moving around." "How far along are you?" "6 months." "And your husband?" Landon asked carefully. "Is he waiting for you in Reno?" Zara felt the familiar tightness in her chest. "My husband died 3 months ago. He was killed in a fight that had nothing to do with him. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time." "I am sorry," Landon said, and she could hear the genuine sympathy in his voice. "That must be very difficult. His family did not believe we were married. The preacher who married us had moved on and we had no certificate, so they turned me out with nothing." The words came out more bitter than she intended. Landon was quiet for a moment. "So you are heading to Reno alone?" "I have an aunt there. At least I think I do. My mother mentioned her in letters years ago, but I have never met her. I am hoping she will take me in, at least until the baby is born and I can find work." "That is a lot of hope to stake on someone you have never met." "It is all I have," Zara said simply. They rode in silence for a while, the only sounds the steady rhythm of the horse's hooves and the whisper of wind through the sagebrush. The sun was lower now, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Despite everything, Zara found herself relaxing slightly against Landon's chest. There was something about him that made her feel safe, a quality she had not experienced in a very long time. "There," Landon said eventually, pointing ahead. "That is my place." Zara looked and saw a ranch house in the distance. It was not large, but it looked well maintained, with a barn, a corral, and several outbuildings. Smoke rose from the chimney, and she could see horses grazing in a nearby pasture. "It is not much," Landon said, "but it is home. My father built it 20 years ago. He passed 2 years back, left it to me." "It looks lovely," Zara said honestly. There was something welcoming about the place, something that spoke of hard work and care. As they approached, A dog came running out, barking enthusiastically. It was a large brown and white animal with floppy ears and a wagging tail. "That is Bear," Landon said with affection in his voice. "He looks fierce, but he is gentle as a lamb." They rode into the yard, and Landon dismounted first, then reached up to help Zara down. His hands were strong and steady on her waist as he lifted her carefully to the ground. Bear immediately came over to sniff at her skirts, tail wagging. "Bear manners," Landon said, and the dog sat obediently, though his tail continued to thump against the dirt. Zara reached down to pat the dog's head, and Bear's tail wagged even faster. Despite everything, she found herself smiling. "Come inside," Landon said. "You must be exhausted." He led her to the house, carrying her bag and the wooden box. The interior was simple but clean. There was a main room with a fireplace, a kitchen area with a cast iron stove, and two doors that presumably led to bedrooms. The furniture was handmade but sturdy, and everything was tidy in a way that suggested Landon took care of his home. "You can take my room," Landon said, gesturing to one of the doors. "I will sleep out here on the settee." "I cannot take your bed," Zara protested. "You can and you will," Landon said firmly but kindly. "You need proper rest, especially in your condition. I have slept on that settee many times." "It is perfectly comfortable." Zara wanted to argue, but exhaustion was catching up with her. The long journey, the stress of the broken wagon, and the emotional toll of the past months were all weighing on her. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Let me get a fire going and make some supper." "You just rest." Zara sank into a chair near the table, watching as Landon moved efficiently around the kitchen. He stoked the fire in the stove and began pulling out supplies. She noticed the way he moved, confident and capable, and found herself wondering about him. He seemed young to be running a ranch alone, probably not much older than her own 22 years. "How long have you been running the ranch by yourself?" she asked. "2 years since my father died. It has been hard work, but I love it. The land, the horses, the freedom of it. This country can be harsh, but it is beautiful too." "Do you have any other family?" "My mother died when I was 12. I have a sister, but she married a merchant in San Francisco 5 years ago. I visit when I can, but she has her own life now." He glanced at her. "What about you?" "No other family besides this aunt in Reno." "No one. My mother died last year, and I never knew my father. It was always just the two of us." Landon nodded, stirring something in a pot on the stove. The smell of cooking meat and vegetables began to fill the room, making Zara realize how hungry she was. She had been rationing her supplies carefully, never knowing when she might be able to buy more. "How are you feeling?" Landon asked. "Any pain? Cramping?" Zara was surprised by the question. "No, I am fine." "Why do you ask?" "My sister had 2 babies while I was still visiting her regularly. I learned a bit about what to watch for. Traveling as much as you have been, it would not be surprising if you were having some difficulties." "Everything has been fine so far," Zara assured him. "The baby is active and healthy as far as I can tell." Landon served up 2 plates of stew and set one in front of her along with thick slices of bread. Zara ate hungrily, barely remembering her manners. The food was simple but delicious, hearty and filling. "This is wonderful," she said between bites. "Thank you. You are welcome." "When was the last time you had a proper meal?" Zara had to think about it. "A few days ago, I suppose. I have been eating mostly jerky and hardtack, trying to make my supplies last." Landon frowned. "That is not good for you or the baby. You need better nutrition than that." "I know, but I could not afford more. I had to save what money I had for emergencies." She gestured ruefully. "Like broken wagon wheels." After they finished eating, Landon showed her to his room. It was simply furnished with a bed, a dresser, and a washstand. Everything was clean and neat. "There is water in the pitcher if you want to wash up," he said, "and extra blankets in the chest if you get cold. I will be right outside if you need anything." "Thank you, Landon, for everything. I do not know what I would have done if you had not come along." "You do not need to thank me. It is what anyone would do." But they both knew that was not true. Plenty of men would have ridden past a woman in distress, especially one in her condition. Some would have taken advantage of her vulnerability. After Landon closed the door, Zara sank onto the bed with a sigh of relief. The mattress was comfortable, far better than the bedroll she had been sleeping on in her wagon. She washed her face and hands in the basin, then changed into her nightgown. The baby was still active, and she placed her hands on her belly, feeling the movements beneath her palms. "It is all right, little one," she whispered. "We are safe tonight." She climbed into bed and was asleep almost before her head hit the pillow. She woke once during the night, disoriented until she remembered where she was. Moonlight streamed through the window, and she could hear the distant sound of coyotes calling. She got up to use the chamber pot, then padded softly to the door and opened it a crack. Landon was asleep on the settee, one arm thrown over his eyes, his long legs hanging off the end. Bear was curled up on the floor beside him. The sight made something warm unfurl in Zara's chest. This man had given up his own bed for her, a complete stranger. It was a kindness she would not soon forget. She closed the door quietly and went back to bed, falling into a deep, dreamless sleep. Morning came with the sound of roosters crowing and the smell of coffee brewing. Zara dressed quickly and emerged from the bedroom to find Landon already up, standing at the stove making breakfast. "Good morning," he said with a smile. "How did you sleep?" "Better than I have in weeks," Zara admitted. "Thank you again for the bed." "You are welcome. I made coffee and there are eggs and bacon. I thought we could eat, and then I will ride out to your wagon and see about that wheel." They ate breakfast together, and Zara found herself relaxing into the easy conversation. Landon told her about the ranch, about the horses he raised and occasionally sold to the army or to other ranchers. He spoke about his plans to expand, to build up his herd and maybe hire some help. "It sounds like you have a good life here," Zara said. "I do. It is hard work, but it is mine." "That means something," he paused. "What will you do in Reno after you find your aunt?" "I am hoping she will let me stay until the baby is born. After that, I will need to find work, maybe as a seamstress or a cook, something I can do while caring for a child. And if your aunt is not there, or if she will not take you in." Zara had tried not to think about that possibility, but it lurked in the back of her mind constantly. "I do not know. I will figure something out. I always do." Landon studied her for a long moment. "You are very brave, Zara Henderson." "I do not feel brave. I feel terrified most of the time." "That is what bravery is, being terrified and doing what needs to be done anyway." After breakfast, Landon saddled his horse and prepared to ride out to the wagon. "Will you be all right here alone for a few hours?" "Of course. I have been alone for months now." "Bear will stay with you. He is a good watchdog." Landon scratched the dog behind the ears. "You take care of her, Bear." Bear barked once as if in agreement, and Zara could not help but smile. After Landon left, Zara explored the house a bit more. Everything was orderly and clean, which impressed her. Many men living alone let their homes fall into disarray, but Landon clearly took pride in his space. She washed the breakfast dishes and tidied up a bit, feeling restless. She found herself drawn to a shelf near the fireplace where several books were lined up. There were practical volumes about ranching and animal husbandry, but also some novels and a collection of poetry. She pulled down the poetry book and flipped through it, surprised to find several passages underlined. The door opened, and she quickly put the book back, feeling like she had been caught snooping. But it was not Landon. Instead, a woman in her 50s stood in the doorway, looking surprised to see Zara. "Oh," the woman said. "I did not know Landon had company." "I am sorry," Zara said quickly. "I had some trouble with my wagon and Landon offered me shelter for the night. My name is Zara Henderson." The woman's surprise turned to warmth. "I am Martha Calloway. My husband and I have the ranch about 2 miles south of here. I just came by to bring Landon some preserves I made." She held up a basket covered with a cloth. "That is very kind of you. Landon rode out to fix my wagon, but he should be back in a few hours." Martha set the basket on the table and studied Zara with keen eyes that took in her condition. "You poor dear, traveling alone in your state. Where are you headed?" "Reno. I have an aunt there." "Well, you are lucky Landon found you. He is a good man, that one. Would give you the shirt off his back if you needed it." Martha paused. "Would you like some tea? I could stay and visit for a bit." Zara found herself nodding. "I would like that very much." Martha bustled about making tea as if she knew where everything was kept, which she probably did if she was a neighbor. Soon, they were sitting at the table with cups of steaming tea, and Martha was asking gentle questions about Zara's situation. Zara found herself telling the older woman everything. About Thomas, about his death, about his family's rejection, about her desperate journey to Reno. It felt good to talk to another woman, to share the burden she had been carrying alone for so long. "That is a terrible thing those people did to you," Martha said with genuine indignation. "Turning out a pregnant widow, they should be ashamed. They did not believe I was his widow. Without a certificate, I had no proof. Your word should have been enough. And even if you had not been married, which I am not saying is the case, they still should have helped you. That baby is still their blood." Zara felt tears prick at her eyes at the woman's fierce defense of her. "Thank you for saying that. I only speak the truth, dear." Martha reached over and patted Zara's hand. "You are in good hands with Landon, though. He will make sure you get safely to Reno. He has been very kind. He is a kind man. Good-looking, too, if you do not mind me saying." Martha gave her a knowing look. "And single." Zara felt her cheeks warm. "I am in no position to be thinking about such things. I am pregnant with another man's child." "Maybe not right now," Martha agreed. "But someday. You are young yet and pretty too. You have got your whole life ahead of you." They talked for another hour before Martha took her leave, promising to come back and visit soon. After she left, Zara found herself thinking about what the woman had said. She had not thought about the possibility of finding love again. The wounds from Thomas's death and his family's rejection were still too fresh. But there was no denying that Landon had made an impression on her. She pushed the thoughts aside and went outside to explore the ranch a bit. Bear trotted along beside her, clearly taking his guard dog duties seriously. The day was beautiful, warm but not hot, with a gentle breeze that carried the scent of sagebrush and wildflowers. She walked to the corral where several horses grazed. They looked well cared for, their coats gleaming in the sunlight. One of them, a pretty mare with a white blaze, came over to the fence and nuzzled at Zara's hand. "You are a sweet one, are you not?" Zara murmured, stroking the mare's soft nose. "That is Starlight," a voice said behind her, and she turned to see Landon leading his horse into the yard. "She is the gentlest horse I have ever known. Good with children, too. You are back already. I made good time. And I brought your wagon." He gestured behind him, and Zara saw her wagon being pulled along behind his horse. The wheel had been replaced with what looked like a spare. "You fixed it." "I had an extra wheel at the ranch that fit well enough. It will get you to Reno safely, though you should have it looked at by a proper wheelwright once you get there." "How can I ever thank you?" Landon shrugged as he began unhitching the wagon. "No thanks necessary. I am just glad I could help." Zara helped him settle the horses and then they went inside. She had made lunch while he was gone, using supplies from his kitchen. It was just sandwiches and some canned peaches, but Landon seemed pleased. "You did not have to do this," he said. "I wanted to. You have done so much for me." "It is the least I can do." They ate together, talking easily. Zara found herself genuinely enjoying his company. Landon was intelligent and thoughtful with a dry sense of humor that made her laugh. She could not remember the last time she had laughed. After lunch, Landon looked at her seriously. "I know you are anxious to get to Reno, but I think you should rest here one more day. You have been through a lot, and traveling too hard is not good for you or the baby." "I really should go," Zara protested, though without much conviction. The truth was, she did not want to leave. This place, with its sense of peace and safety, was more appealing than the uncertainty waiting for her in Reno. "One more day," Landon said firmly. "Leave early the morning after tomorrow and you will be in Reno by afternoon. But today you rest." Zara finally nodded. "All right, one more day." That afternoon, Landon showed her around the ranch properly. He introduced her to all the horses by name, explaining their personalities and quirks. He showed her the chickens and the vegetable garden he was trying to maintain, though he admitted with a laugh that he was not much of a gardener. "My mother used to have beautiful gardens," he said, "but I am afraid I did not inherit her green thumb. I can keep a horse alive just fine, but plants seem to wither under my care." "It just takes practice," Zara said. "My mother had a small garden in Sacramento. I helped her with it. These plants here just need more water, I think, and some weeding." Before she knew it, she was on her knees in the garden, pulling weeds and giving Landon advice on caring for the struggling plants. He listened attentively, asking questions and making mental notes. "You really know your plants," he said admiringly. "I enjoy it. There is something satisfying about growing things, nurturing them, watching them flourish under your care." They worked in the garden until the sun began to set, and then Landon made dinner. They ate outside on the porch, watching the stars come out one by one. Bear lay at their feet, occasionally thumping his tail against the wooden boards. "It is so peaceful here," Zara said softly. "So different from the city." "Is that where you are from, the city?" "Yes, born and raised in Sacramento. I have never lived anywhere else until now." "Do you miss it?" Zara thought about it. "No, there is nothing there for me anymore, just memories, and most of them hurt too much to think about." Landon was quiet for a moment. "I have been thinking," he said slowly, "about your situation." "What about it?" "Well, you are traveling to Reno to stay with an aunt you have never met, an aunt who might not even be there anymore or who might not be willing or able to take you in. That is a lot of uncertainty." "I know. But what choice do I have?" Landon turned to look at her directly. "You could stay here." Zara's heart began to race. "What?" "Stay here, at the ranch. I have plenty of room and I could use the help. You know about gardens and you are a good cook. And when the baby comes, well, there is room for both of you." "Landon, I cannot just move in with you. What would people think?" "I have been thinking about that too." He took a deep breath. "What if we got married?" Zara stared at him, certain she had misheard. "Married?" "I know it sounds crazy. We barely know each other, but think about it practically. You need a home and security. I need help on the ranch, and your baby would have a father, a name that no one can dispute." "But you do not love me, and I do not love you." "No," Landon agreed. "Not yet. But we like each other, do we not? We get along well. A lot of marriages start with less than that, and maybe over time we could grow to love each other." Zara's mind was racing. What he was proposing was outrageous, impulsive, completely irrational, and yet part of her was drawn to the idea. She liked Landon. She felt safe with him. And the alternative, throwing herself on the mercy of an aunt she had never met, seemed far more frightening. "I do not know what to say," she whispered. "Then do not say anything tonight. Think about it. Sleep on it. We can talk more in the morning." Zara nodded, grateful for the reprieve. They said goodnight, and she went to Landon's room while he settled on the settee again. But sleep did not come easily. She lay awake for hours thinking about his proposal. It would solve all her problems. She would have a home, security, and a father for her child. But it felt wrong somehow to marry without love, even if Landon was right that many marriages started that way. But what was the alternative? Her aunt might not even exist anymore. And even if she did, she might refuse to take in a pregnant niece she had never met. Zara would be stranded in Reno with no money, no home, and a baby on the way. When she finally fell asleep, her dreams were confused and troubling. She woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Landon moving around in the kitchen. She dressed quickly and went out to find him making breakfast again. "Good morning," he said, his tone carefully neutral. "Did you sleep well?" "Not particularly," Zara admitted. "I was thinking about what you said." Landon set down the pan he was holding and turned to face her. "And I have some questions first. Of course, ask me anything." Zara sat down at the table and Landon joined her. "If we did this, if we got married, what would you expect from me?" "I mean, would it be a real marriage?" She blushed saying it, but Landon seemed to understand what she was asking. "That would be entirely up to you," he said seriously. "I would not expect or demand anything you were not comfortable with. We could start as friends, partners in running the ranch. If more developed between us over time, well, we could deal with that when and if it happened. And my baby, you would truly accept him or her as your own." "I would. I give you my word on that. Any child raised in my home would be treated as my own, regardless of blood." "But why?" Zara asked, feeling tears prick at her eyes. "Why would you do this for me? You do not even know me." Landon was quiet for a moment, seeming to gather his thoughts. "When my father died, I felt lost for a long time. This ranch, which had always been full of life and laughter, became lonely. Martha and her husband help where they can, but it is not the same. I have wanted a family of my own for years now, but I have not found the right woman. Or maybe I have not been looking in the right places." He reached across the table and took her hand. "Then you appeared on that road yesterday, and I felt something I have not felt in a long time. Not love, not yet, but possibility. Hope. A sense that maybe this was meant to be. You believe in fate. I believe in taking chances when they present themselves. You need help, and I can provide it. And maybe, just maybe, we can build something good together." "Is that so impossible?" Zara looked down at their joined hands. His were calloused and strong, the hands of a man who worked hard. She thought about Thomas, about how much she had loved him and how much it had hurt when he died. Could she risk that kind of pain again? But this would be different. Landon was offering a partnership, not a grand passion. Maybe that would be safer, easier, and in time, perhaps affection would grow into something more. "All right," she heard herself say. "I will marry you." Landon's face broke into a wide smile. "Truly, truly. But we take it slow. We get to know each other. And if either of us decides it is not working, we talk about it honestly." "Agreed." Landon squeezed her hand. "We can go into Reno today and find a preacher. Get it done proper this time, with a certificate and everything." "Today?" Zara felt a flutter of panic. "Unless you want to wait. But I thought, given your past experience with not having proof, it might be better to make it legal as soon as possible." He was right, of course. Zara took a deep breath. "All right. Today." They rode into Reno that morning, Zara once again seated in front of Landon on his horse. Her wagon was left at the ranch, as Landon said they could come back for it another day. The town of Reno was smaller than Sacramento, but it had a rough vitality about it. People bustled along the wooden sidewalks, and the sound of hammering suggested new construction everywhere. They found a church on the edge of town, a simple white building with a cross on the steeple. The preacher, an elderly man with kind eyes named Reverend Williams, agreed to marry them immediately. "You have witnesses?" he asked. Landon thought for a moment, then stepped outside. He returned a few minutes later with a middle-aged woman and her husband who had been passing by. They agreed to witness the ceremony, their faces curious but friendly. The ceremony itself was brief. Zara stood beside Landon, acutely aware that this was nothing like her first wedding. That had been a passionate, impulsive affair, full of promises and dreams. This was practical, sensible, almost businesslike. But when Landon took her hands and spoke his vows, looking into her eyes with sincerity and warmth, something shifted in her chest. This man was offering her everything he had. She could give him no less in return. "I, Zara Henderson, take you, Landon Driscoll, to be my lawfully wedded husband," she said, her voice steady. "I promise to be honest with you, to work beside you, and to build a life with you." "I now pronounce you man and wife," Reverend Williams said. "You may kiss your bride." Landon leaned down slowly, giving Zara plenty of time to pull away if she wanted. But she did not pull away. When his lips touched hers, gentle and respectful, she felt that warmth in her chest again, stronger this time. After the ceremony, they signed the certificate, and the witnesses signed as well. Landon folded the document carefully and put it in his pocket. "Thank you, Reverend," he said, shaking the man's hand. "This means more than you know." "Go with God," the Reverend said, smiling at them both. As they walked back to where Landon had tied his horse, Zara felt dazed. She was married. Again. To a man she had known for less than 2 days. It should have felt wrong, impulsive, crazy. But instead she felt oddly peaceful. "Are you all right?" Landon asked, helping her onto the horse. "I think so. It still does not feel quite real." "We do not have to rush anything," Landon assured her as he mounted behind her. "We go home and we take each day as it comes. No pressure, no expectations. Just 2 people learning to live together. Home." The word settled into her heart with unexpected warmth. She had a home again. They stopped at the general store before leaving town, and Landon bought supplies. The clerk, a talkative man named Harrison, noticed Zara's condition and congratulated them on the coming baby. "Newlyweds, are you?" he asked cheerfully. "Just married this morning," Landon confirmed, putting his arm around Zara's shoulders in a gesture that felt both protective and possessive. "Well, congratulations to you both. When is the little one due?" "3 months, Zara said. "Your first?" "Yes," Landon said before Zara could answer, and she felt grateful for the implicit claim he was making. This baby would be theirs, not just hers. They rode back to the ranch in comfortable silence, and Zara found herself leaning more fully against Landon's chest, feeling secure in his arms. When they arrived, Bear came bounding out to greet them, tail wagging frantically. "Welcome home, Mrs. Driscoll," Landon said as he helped her down from the horse. Mrs. Driscoll. Her new name. It would take some getting used to. That evening they had dinner together, and Landon showed her where things were kept in the kitchen, making it clear that this was her home now too. After dinner, they sat on the porch again, watching the sunset. "I am going to move my things out to the barn," Landon said. "Fix up the room out there, give you your privacy." "You do not have to do that. The settee cannot be comfortable for sleeping. It is fine for a night or 2, but long term I will need something better. The barn has a good loft. I can set up a proper bed out there." Zara felt both relieved and oddly disappointed. She was not ready to share a bed with Landon, not by a long shot, but his immediate removal of himself felt like rejection, even though she knew it was not. "Maybe for now," she said carefully. "But eventually, when we are both comfortable, you should be able to sleep in your own house." "We will see how things go," Landon said neutrally. The next few weeks fell into a comfortable routine. Zara took over the cooking and the garden, which began to flourish under her care. She cleaned the house thoroughly, organizing things to her liking. Landon worked with the horses and maintained the ranch, but he always made time to talk with her, to share meals, to sit on the porch in the evenings. Martha Calloway came to visit several times, and she was delighted to learn that Zara and Landon had married. "I knew it," she said triumphantly. "I told my husband, I said, those two are meant for each other, and here you are, married already." "It happened very quickly," Zara admitted. "When you know," Martha said wisely. "And Landon would not have married you if he did not see a future with you." As the weeks passed, Zara found herself growing more comfortable with her new life. She enjoyed the work of maintaining the household, and she loved the peace and beauty of the ranch. But most of all, she found herself looking forward to the time she spent with Landon. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. He told her about growing up on the ranch, about his mother's death and how hard that had been on him and his father. She told him about her childhood in Sacramento, about her mother's struggle to provide for them, about meeting Thomas and falling in love. "You still love him?" Landon asked one evening. Zara considered the question. "I will always love the memory of him, but it has been months now and the pain is not as sharp as it was. I am learning to let go." "I am glad," Landon said. "Not that you are forgetting him, but that you are healing." "You deserve to be happy, Zara." "So do you." Their eyes met, and Zara felt something pass between them. It was not love, not yet, but it was warm and real and full of promise. As her pregnancy progressed, Landon became increasingly attentive. He made sure she was eating properly, that she was not working too hard, that she was comfortable. When her back ached, he rubbed it without being asked. When her feet swelled, he insisted she sit with them elevated. "You do not have to fuss over me," Zara protested one day. "I know I do not have to, I want to," Landon smiled at her. "You are carrying my child as far as anyone needs to know. That makes you precious to me." The words made Zara's heart flutter. She was growing attached to this quiet, kind man. She looked forward to his company, missed him when he was working away from the house, felt safe and cherished in his presence. One night, about 2 months after their marriage, a bad storm rolled in. Thunder shook the house, and lightning illuminated the room in brilliant flashes. Zara had never been afraid of storms, but this one was particularly violent, and in her condition, she felt vulnerable. She was lying in bed, listening to the wind howl when there was a knock on the door. "Zara," Landon called. "Are you all right?" "I am fine," she called back, though her voice shook slightly. The door opened and Landon stood there in his nightshirt, his hair tousled from sleep. "You do not sound fine. It is just the storm. It is so loud." Landon hesitated, then said, "Would you like some company?" "I can sit in the chair, just so you are not alone." Zara surprised herself by saying, "You could sit on the bed, if you want." Landon came in and closed the door behind him. He sat carefully on the edge of the bed, maintaining a respectful distance. Another crash of thunder made Zara jump, and without thinking she reached for his hand. "I am sorry," she said. "I do not know why this is frightening me so much." "Do not apologize," Landon said, squeezing her hand. "Fear is not rational. Here, lie down. I will stay right here until the storm passes." Zara lay back against the pillows, and Landon stretched out beside her on top of the blankets, still holding her hand. It felt natural, right? The baby kicked, and Landon's eyes widened. "Was that?" "The baby," Zara confirmed. "Do you want to feel?" She placed his hand on her belly, and they both waited. After a moment, there was another kick, stronger this time. "That is amazing," Landon breathed. "I have never felt anything like that before. It is strange at first, but you get used to it. Sometimes I think the baby is going to be a boxer with how much kicking goes on." They lay there together. Landon's hand on her belly, feeling the baby move. The storm raged outside, but inside, Zara felt warm and safe. Eventually, the thunder moved off into the distance and the rain settled into a steady patter. "I should go back to the barn," Landon said, but he made no move to leave. "You could stay," Zara said softly. "Just for tonight. It is still raining and it would be foolish to go out in this." "Are you sure?" "I am sure." Landon carefully slid under the blankets, still maintaining some distance between them, but Zara found herself moving closer, resting her head on his shoulder. His arm came around her automatically, holding her gently. "Is this all right?" he asked. "It is perfect," Zara whispered. They fell asleep like that, wrapped in each other's arms. When Zara woke in the morning, she found Landon watching her with an expression she could not quite read. "Good morning," he said softly. "Good morning." Zara felt suddenly shy. "I slept well." "So did I." "Better than I have in months." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Zara, I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "I am falling in love with you. I did not plan for it to happen this quickly, and I know we agreed to take things slow, but I cannot help how I feel. You are kind and strong and beautiful, and I love having you in my life." Zara felt tears spring to her eyes. "Landon, I do not know what to say." "You do not have to say anything. I am not asking you to love me back, not yet. I just wanted you to know how I feel." But Zara was realizing something as he spoke. "I think I am falling in love with you too," she whispered. "I did not expect it either. I thought I was too broken, too hurt to love again. But you have shown me such kindness, such patience. You have given me a home and safety and hope." "How could I not fall in love with you?" Landon cupped her face in his hands. "May I kiss you, really kiss you, not like at the wedding?" "Yes," Zara breathed. He kissed her slowly, deeply, and Zara felt something inside her unlock and bloom. This was different from the passion she had shared with Thomas. This was gentler, deeper, built on friendship and respect. But it was just as powerful in its own way. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were breathing hard. "I want this to be a real marriage," Zara said. "In every way." "I am ready for that. Are you sure? I do not want to rush you, I am sure. You are my husband, Landon, and I want to be your wife in truth." They spent the morning in bed, taking their time, learning each other. Landon was gentle and patient, mindful of her condition, and Zara felt cherished and desired. Afterward, they lay tangled together, and Zara realized she was happier than she had been in a very long time. "No more sleeping in the barn," she said firmly. Landon laughed. "No more sleeping in the barn," he agreed. The next month passed in a haze of happiness. Zara and Landon grew closer every day, their love deepening and strengthening. They worked together on the ranch, planned for the baby's arrival, and spent their evenings wrapped in each other's arms. Martha came to visit and immediately noticed the change between them. "Well, well," she said with a knowing smile. "Look at you two. You are properly in love now, are you not?" "We are," Landon confirmed, pulling Zara close and kissing the top of her head. "I knew it would happen. You were meant for each other." As Zara's due date approached, Landon became even more attentive. He brought the midwife, a capable woman named Mrs. Tanner, out to the ranch to meet Zara and discuss the birth plan. He made sure everything was ready, from clean linens to hot water to a cradle he had spent weeks building with his own hands. "It is beautiful," Zara said, running her hand over the smooth wood. "You made this." "I did. I wanted our baby to have something made with love. Our baby." Not her baby, but theirs. Zara felt tears prick at her eyes, as they seemed to do constantly these days. "I love you so much," she said, going to him and wrapping her arms around him as much as her belly would allow. "I love you too," Landon murmured against her hair. "More than I ever thought possible." The baby came on a warm afternoon in late September. Zara had been hanging laundry when the pain started, mild at first but steadily growing stronger. Landon had been working with a horse in the corral, but he dropped everything when he saw the look on her face. "Is it time?" he asked, his face pale. "I think so," Zara gasped as another contraction hit. Landon helped her into the house and sent one of the ranch hands who had stopped by to fetch Mrs. Tanner and Martha. Then he stayed by Zara's side, holding her hand, wiping her forehead with a cool cloth, murmuring encouragement. "You are doing so well," he said. "So strong, so brave." "I am scared," Zara admitted between contractions. "I know, but Mrs. Tanner will be here soon and everything is going to be fine. You and our baby are going to be just fine." Mrs. Tanner arrived within the hour, calm and efficient. She examined Zara and declared that everything was progressing normally. "First babies can take a while," she said. "But you are doing great, dear." Martha arrived shortly after and took over the job of boiling water and gathering supplies. Landon stayed at Zara's side through it all, never leaving her for a moment. The labor lasted through the afternoon and into the evening. It was painful and exhausting, and there were moments when Zara did not think she could continue. But every time she faltered, Landon was there, giving her strength, reminding her that she could do this. Finally, as the sun was setting, Mrs. Tanner said, "All right, dear. On the next contraction, you need to push." Zara bore down with all her strength, Landon supporting her from behind, and suddenly the room was filled with the sound of a baby crying. "It is a boy," Mrs. Tanner announced, holding up the squalling infant. "A healthy, beautiful boy." Zara collapsed back against Landon, exhausted but elated. Mrs. Tanner cleaned the baby and wrapped him in a soft blanket, then placed him in Zara's arms. He was perfect. Tiny and red-faced and screaming, but perfect. Zara looked down at him and felt a rush of love so powerful it took her breath away. "Hello, little one," she whispered. "I am your mama." Landon leaned over her shoulder, looking down at the baby with wonder. "He is beautiful," he said hoarsely, "just like his mother." "Would you like to hold him?" Zara asked. "May I?" Zara carefully transferred the baby to Landon's arms. The infant immediately quieted, seeming to sense the strong, gentle presence holding him. "Hello, son," Landon said softly. "Welcome to the world. I am your father, and I promise I am going to take care of you and your mother for the rest of my life." Tears streamed down Zara's face as she watched her husband hold their baby. This man had given her everything: a home, security, love, and now a father for her child. She had been so lost, so alone, and he had found her on that road and changed her entire life. "What should we name him?" Landon asked. Zara had been thinking about this for weeks. "I would like to name him Thomas Landon Driscoll. Thomas for his birth father, who would have loved him, and Landon for the man who chose to be his father." Landon looked up at her with shining eyes. "That is perfect. Thank you for honoring both of us." Mrs. Tanner and Martha finished cleaning up and checking on Zara, declaring that mother and baby were both healthy. They left with promises to check in the next day, and finally, Landon and Zara were alone with their new son. Landon helped Zara get comfortable in bed, then lay down beside her with little Thomas between them. They watched him sleep, marveling at his tiny fingers and toes, the way his mouth made sucking motions even in sleep. "I cannot believe he is really here," Zara said. "It seems like just yesterday I was broken down on that road, sure that my life was over. And now I have everything I ever wanted. A home, a family, a man I love more than I ever thought possible." She reached over the baby to take Landon's hand. "You saved me, Landon, in every way a person can be saved." "You saved me too," Landon said. "I was so lonely before you came. I had the ranch, but it felt empty. Now it feels like home." They fell asleep like that, the three of them together, a family. The next few weeks were exhausting as Zara adjusted to life with a newborn. Thomas was a good baby for the most part, but he still woke frequently to eat and had his fussy moments. Landon helped as much as he could, walking the floor with Thomas when he cried, changing his diapers, giving Zara a chance to rest. "You are a natural at this," Zara said one evening, watching Landon rock the baby to sleep. "I love him," Landon said simply. "How could I not? He is part of you, and that makes him precious to me." Martha and her husband came to visit often, bringing food and offering to watch Thomas so Zara could rest. Other neighbors stopped by as well, welcoming the new family. Everyone in the community seemed genuinely happy for them. As Thomas grew, Zara noticed with some surprise that he seemed to have Landon's coloring. His eyes, which had been blue at birth like all babies, were starting to turn the same blue-green as Landon's. His hair was darkening to match Landon's as well. She mentioned it to Martha one day. "Babies sometimes take on the coloring of the people around them," Martha said wisely. "Or maybe it is just coincidence. Either way, he looks like he belongs to you both." "He does belong to us both," Zara said firmly. "Landon is his father in every way that matters." As fall turned to winter, life on the ranch settled into a comfortable rhythm. Landon worked hard to provide for his family, and Zara managed the household and cared for Thomas. In the evenings, they would sit by the fire, Zara nursing the baby while Landon read aloud from his books of poetry or told stories about his childhood on Christmas Eve. Landon surprised Zara with a gift. It was a beautiful silver locket on a chain. "Open it," he urged. Inside was a tiny portrait of their family, Landon, Zara, and baby Thomas. Zara did not know when he had managed to have it commissioned, but it was beautifully done. "Landon, this is too much," she protested, though she was already fastening it around her neck. "It is not enough," Landon said. "I want you to carry us with you always, close to your heart." "I already carry you in my heart," Zara said, kissing him. "Every moment of every day." As winter gave way to spring, Thomas began to grow and develop rapidly. He smiled and laughed, his personality emerging more each day. He was a happy baby, content to be held and cuddled, and he clearly adored both of his parents. One warm spring day, Zara was working in the garden while Thomas napped in a basket nearby. Landon came out from the barn and sat down beside her. "I have been thinking," he said. "About what?" "About expanding our family. I know it is soon and we should wait if you want to. But I love being a father to Thomas, and I would love to have more children. Our children." Zara felt warmth spread through her chest. "I would love that too. Thomas should have brothers and sisters to grow up with." Landon grinned and pulled her into his arms. "Have I told you lately that I love you?" "Not in the last hour," Zara teased. "Then I am falling behind. I love you, Zara Driscoll, more than words can express." "I love you too. Thank you for stopping my wagon that day. Thank you for offering me forever." "Thank you for accepting," Landon said and kissed her deeply. Thomas woke up and began to fuss, and they both laughed as they separated. "Duty calls," Zara said, going to pick up the baby. Landon watched them with pure love in his eyes. His family. His wife and son. He was the luckiest man alive. Time continued to pass, each season bringing its own joys and challenges. The ranch prospered under their joint management, and their love continued to deepen and grow. When Thomas was 18 months old, Zara discovered she was pregnant again. "Are you happy?" she asked Landon when she told him. "Happy does not begin to cover it," Landon said, sweeping her into his arms and spinning her around. "I am overjoyed, thrilled, absolutely delighted." This pregnancy was easier than the first, perhaps because Zara was not dealing with grief and uncertainty. She had a loving husband, a beautiful home, and a toddler who kept her busy and laughing. When her second child was born, a daughter with Zara's dark hair and Landon's blue-green eyes, it felt like their family was complete. They named her Lucy, and Thomas, now a sturdy 2-year-old, was fascinated by his baby sister. He would sit for hours just watching her, bringing her toys, trying to make her smile. "He is going to be a wonderful big brother," Landon said, watching his son with pride. "Just like his father is a wonderful dad," Zara replied, but their family was not done growing. 2 years later, they welcomed twin boys, Marcus and Samuel. The house was chaos with 4 children under 5, but it was the best kind of chaos, full of laughter and love. Martha joked that they were populating the territory single-handedly, but Zara just smiled. She loved her growing family, loved the noise and energy of children, loved watching Landon with their sons and daughter. Years passed in a blur of school lessons and skinned knees, birthday celebrations and Christmas mornings. Thomas grew into a responsible young man who loved the ranch as much as his father did. Lucy was spirited and independent, able to ride and rope as well as any of her brothers. Marcus and Samuel were inseparable, always getting into trouble together. When Thomas turned 18, Landon had a serious talk with him about the ranch and its future. "This place will be yours someday," Landon said. "Yours and your siblings. But if ranching is what you want, I would like to start teaching you more about the business side of things." "It is what I want," Thomas said without hesitation. "This is my home. These are my people. I cannot imagine being anywhere else." Landon felt pride swell in his chest. This boy who had come to him as another man's child had become his son in every way. He had raised him, taught him, loved him. And now he was becoming a man who would carry on the family legacy. Zara watched father and son talking together on the porch and felt tears of happiness sting her eyes. She had come so far from that desperate, pregnant widow on the road. She had built a life beyond anything she could have imagined, full of love and family and purpose. That evening, after the children were all in bed, Zara and Landon sat together on the porch as they had done countless times before. Bear, now old and gray-muzzled, lay at their feet. They held hands and watched the stars come out. "You ever think about that day?" Landon asked. "When I found you on the road?" "Every day," Zara said. "I think about how scared I was, how hopeless I felt, and then you appeared like an answer to a prayer I had not even known how to pray. I think about it too. I think about how close I came to taking a different trail that day. If I had, I would have missed you entirely. We would never have met. But we did meet, and we built this beautiful life together." Landon squeezed her hand. "Do you have any regrets?" "About how quickly we married, about agreeing to a practical arrangement that turned into love. Not a single one. You gave me everything, Landon. A home, children, love, security. You raised Thomas as your own without any hesitation. You have been the most wonderful husband and father I could ever have asked for." "You gave me just as much," Landon said. "You brought life and warmth and love into this house. You gave me 4 beautiful children. You made me happier than I ever thought possible." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Landon said, "We should probably think about building an addition onto the house soon. Thomas will want to get married eventually, and we will need space for his family." Zara laughed. "Always planning ahead. That is how we have made this work. Looking toward the future while cherishing the present." "Speaking of the present," Zara said, "I have something to tell you." "What is it?" "I am pregnant again." Landon turned to stare at her. "Again, truly, truly." "I know we said we were done after the twins, but apparently our family has other plans." Landon let out a whoop of joy and pulled her into his arms. "Another baby. That is wonderful news. You are not worried about having 5 children. Why would I worry? Each one has been a blessing." "This one will be 2, and it was." Their youngest, a daughter they named Rose, was born that winter. She had Zara's smile and gentle nature, and from the moment she arrived, she was adored by her older siblings. Thomas, now 19, helped with the baby as naturally as he did with any other ranch work. Lucy, at 15, loved having a baby sister to dress up and play with. The twins, now 13, were surprisingly gentle with the infant, taking turns rocking her when she fussed. As Landon held Rose for the first time, looking down at her tiny face, he marveled at the life he had built. 5 children, a thriving ranch, a wife he loved more with each passing year. It had all started with one impulsive decision to stop and help a woman in distress. "Thank you for this life," he whispered to Zara as she rested in bed. "Thank you for choosing me," Zara replied, "for stopping that day, for offering me forever. And you accepted. Best decision either of us ever made." The years continued to roll by, each one bringing its own mixture of joy and challenge. Thomas eventually married a sweet young woman from town named Elizabeth, and they had 2 children who grew up running through the ranch alongside their aunts and uncles. Lucy married a schoolteacher and moved to Sacramento, though she visited often with her own growing family. Marcus and Samuel both stayed on the ranch, working alongside their father and brother, and eventually married sisters from a neighboring ranch. Rose, the baby of the family, showed signs of becoming a writer, always scribbling in journals and reading every book she could get her hands on. Landon and Zara watched their children grow and their grandchildren multiply, and through it all, their love never wavered. They still held hands on the porch in the evenings, still talked for hours about everything and nothing, still looked at each other with the same affection and desire they had felt in those early days. On their 30th wedding anniversary, Thomas organized a party at the ranch. All their children and grandchildren came, along with neighbors and friends from miles around. There was food and music and dancing, and speeches about the love between Landon and Zara that had built such a strong family. 30 years ago, Landon said, standing with his arm around Zara, "I met a woman on a road. She was alone, pregnant, scared, and determined. I offered her help, and she gave me everything in return. She gave me love, family, a reason to wake up every morning with joy in my heart. Zara, you are the best thing that ever happened to me. And you are mine," Zara said, tears streaming down her face. "You saved me, Landon, in every way a person can be saved, and I love you more today than I did 30 years ago, which I would not have thought possible." They kissed while their children and grandchildren cheered, and the party continued late into the night. Eventually, as all lives must, theirs began to slow down. Landon's hair turned completely gray and his movements grew stiffer with age. Zara's face lined with wrinkles, each one a testament to years of laughter and love. But their devotion to each other never diminished. Thomas took over most of the ranch work, allowing Landon to retire. But Landon could often be found in the barn or the corral, unable to fully give up the work he loved. Zara still tended her garden, though she moved slower now, and she spent hours playing with her many grandchildren. One evening, when they were both in their 70s, they sat on the porch together as they had done thousands of times before. The sun was setting in a blaze of orange and pink, and the ranch stretched out before them, alive with the sounds of their children and grandchildren. "We built something good, did we not?" Landon said, his voice rough with age. "We built something wonderful," Zara agreed, squeezing his hand. "A family, a legacy, a love that will last beyond our lifetimes. Do you remember when you were worried that marrying without love was wrong?" Zara laughed softly. "I was so foolish. I did not understand that love could grow from friendship and respect and partnership. That sometimes the deepest loves are the ones that develop slowly, built on a foundation of trust. I loved you from the moment I saw you on that road, Landon confessed. I did not know it at the time, but looking back, I can see it. Something in me recognized you, knew you were meant to be mine. And I am yours, Zara said, forever and always, just as you promised that first day. They sat together until the stars came out, talking quietly about their life together, their children, their grandchildren. They talked about the ranch and its future, about the love that had sustained them through hard times and good times alike. I would do it all again, Landon said. Every moment, every choice, every challenge, all of it exactly the same. So would I, Zara agreed, without hesitation. As the night grew cold, they went inside together, hand in hand, still as in love as they had been as newlyweds. They had built a life together from nothing but hope and determination, and a chance meeting on a dusty Nevada road. They had turned a practical arrangement into a love story for the ages. Their youngest grandson, who had been listening from the doorway, would later say that he never saw two people more in love than his grandparents. He would tell his own children about them, about how their love had built a family empire, about how choosing each other every single day had created something beautiful and lasting. Years later, when both Landon and Zara had passed peacefully in their sleep, their children found the marriage certificate from that hasty wedding in Reno, carefully preserved and kept in a special box. Beside it was a letter Zara had written, never sent, to the aunt in Reno she had never actually met. "Dear Aunt," it read, "I never made it to your home. My wagon broke down and a cowboy stopped to help. He offered me forever and I accepted. I hope wherever you are happy as I have been happy beyond measure. I was lost and he found me. I was broken and he helped me heal. I was alone and he gave me a family. Thank you for being the reason I headed east that day, even though we never met. If I had not been looking for you, I would never have found him. With love, your niece Zara." The letter was worn with age, as if Zara had read it many times over the years, remembering the journey that had led her to the love of her life. Her children carefully placed it back in the box, a testament to the beginning of their family story. The ranch continued on, passed down through the generations, each one adding to the legacy Landon and Zara had built. But it was their love that remained the foundation, the story that was told and retold. The pregnant widow traveling alone west, and the cowboy who stopped her wagon and offered forever. Two people who took a chance on each other and built something that would last for generations. In the end, it was not the ranch or the children or even the long years that defined their story. It was the simple fact that when life gave them each other, they said yes. And they kept saying yes every day through every challenge and triumph until the very end. Their love was their legacy, and it lived on in every child and grandchild who learned from their example what it meant to truly commit to another person. To see them not for what they could give you, but for who they were. To build a life together based on respect, trust, and a deep, abiding affection that only grew stronger with time. That was the gift Landon and Zara gave to their family and to the world. A reminder that love could be found in the most unexpected places, and that forever was not just a promise, but a choice you made every single day. And they had made that choice beautifully and completely for all their days.